Good morning, everyone. It is a chilly Wednesday morning again here in Port Coquitlam, British Columbia, and I am here to bring a little spring into your day with the Lasting Lilies stamp set, which I've got here. This is one of our Sale-a-bration rewards, one of the $120 Sale-a-bration rewards, and this stamp set is actually getting on low inventory, so if you've had this on your wish list, now is the time to grab this. Of course, it's only available till the end of Sale-a-bration on March 31st, but it is becoming low in inventory, so it may not last until the 31st. And then to help you earn that $120 reward, they have come out with some coordinating framelits to go with some of our Sale-a-bration sets. So this is our Lasting Lilies coordinating dies, and as you can see, I've just put mine on a magnet. I find it's a little bit easier to get them on and off of the cardstock if you do that. That glue that they use to hold the framelits in place is really, really strong. So today I'm going to show you how to use these framelits because they are a little bit tricky. I've been seeing posted online people having some difficulties using them. They're actually very easy to use once you know the trick. So that's what I'm here to show you today. And then, of course, if Lasting Lily is not your thing, they also brought out the coordinating dies to go with the So Hoppy Together, the little froggies, and to go with the cupcakes and a few others. So really, really nice stuff, available till the end of March with Sale-a-bration. And yeah, let's get started on this card. So the color I've used here is Highland Heather for the background and for the stamping. So I'm just going to put that to the side, and we're going to get started creating. The very big trick to these stamps is actually just with the stems and the leaf. So with the flowers, you would use these framelits exactly like you'd use any other framelit. You'd stamp your image and then cut it out using the framelit. The thing with the stems and the leaves, though, is that they're very, very thin, and so it's actually quite nice when you're stamping on a background. If I didn't want that quite so curved, I could straighten it out. If I really wanted a big curve in my leaf, I could really curve it over. And so they are quite flexy. Hi, Eileen. They really are quite flexy, and as you can see, the problem is if I flex my leaf in that way and then try to cut it out, it's not going to work. So to make sure, if you are planning on cutting them out, to make sure that you get the exact image that you want, I place my my die down as though I was going to cut. And then I take my stamp as though I was going to stamp, and I place it over top of my die. And actually, I'm just going to pick this up and really make sure that I've got it nestled in there. So as you can see, it's completely nestled into the die. I'm going to place that down on my paper with it completely inside the die, and then I'm going to put my block to the stamp. So now you can see that the stamp is perfectly aligned to match up with the die. So that's just a little trick. That's the thing that's been making these dies a little bit difficult for people to use, is if you're not lining your stamp up on your block using the die, then you might not get exactly lined up. So I've already done that same process with the two stems, and so I'll just show you here how I lined it up, and then I attached the block to it so that it's going to have that perfect perfect cut and the exact shape. So good morning, Val. Glad you're on. I just showed the little trick on how to get these stamps lined up. I hope you saw it. Basically, here, I'll just do one quick, just for those of you who are hopping on a little bit later. So we've just laid our stamp inside our die cut, and that way it's going to be exactly positioned, and then adhere our block to our stamp so that we have that exact location. There we go. So with those all mounted now so that they're going to match up exactly with the dies, we didn't need to worry at all when mounting the flowers. They're a very solid shape. You can't really bend them out of shape, so they're going to fit perfectly inside the dies. We're going to get started. Now the second part that's kind of been a problem for people is inking up these distinctive stamps. They are meant to be almost photo quality, And so if you just kind of put it onto a very liquid stamp set, like a very juicy stamp set, you are not going to get the definition in your image that you are looking for. So what I've got here are the sponge daubers, and I'm going to use sponge daubers to apply the ink to my flowers so that we really get all of the distinctive look to it that we want. So I'm just going to grab a small piece of paper. I'm actually just using up scraps for this. It's perfect because these are all fairly small images, so I can put them onto a small piece of paper, just all those little leftovers, and then use them in my Big Shot to cut them out. So here we go. I'm going to grab the large flower to start, and this is the Highland Heather ink. I'm just dabbing my sponge dauber onto my ink, and then I'm just dabbing it onto my flower. And as you can see, it like barely looks like there's ink on here. That's okay. It will actually come out quite dark, you'll see. And so one way to check is to actually flip it over, and you can kind of see where the color is. I'm going to add a little bit more. And then I'm going to grab some Gorgeous Grape just to do a little bit of accenting. Now, you could use a sponge dauber for this, or get even more kind of a pinpoint in here by using a Q-tip. And I am just coming in and inking up where the pistil is and all that pollen. And then I'm also inking the base and coming in a little bit along that one curve. So I'm going very, very lightly with that. I hope you can see that on there. This side kind of shows it even more where I've put that darker ink. And once I've got that done, and that was a very light application, I am going to stamp my image. And there you have it. We have one lily all stamped with a little bit of distinction in there. Now I'm going to do our next one, and it's the same technique. I'm just taking this the Highland Heather, and lightly sponge daubing my stamp. There we go. And then taking my darker Gorgeous Grape, and this one I'm not even, oh maybe I will, very, very lightly going to go over the center and around the base. All right, then I'm going to stamp that one. There we go. So with those flowers stamped, I can put away my Gorgeous Grape and my Highland Heather, and we'll move on to stamping our stems and our leaves. So I am going to set those to the side, grab another strip of scrap paper, get those off, and I'm going to bring in my two greens that I've chosen today. I've got my Pear Pizzazz and my Old Olive. I had thought about doing this in Granny Apple Green, but I just worried that it was going to be a little too bright. And the card I'm making today, I want to be quite versatile, because all I'm stamping on the front is Dear Friend. And that way I've got a card that is ready to go for really any occasion. It is subtle enough that I can give it as a sympathy card if that should arise. I can give it as an Easter card, or even as a birthday card, or just a thinking of you kind of card. So it's really, I wanted to keep it very generic, so I didn't want it to be too bright and fun or too somber. Good morning, Jamie. Now I've just taken another sponge dauber and the Old Olive, and I'm just going to very lightly go along the edge of my leaf. Very lightly. There we go. And to lay that in here. There we go. Hopefully you guys can see that. Excellent. And now I'm going to go through the same process again with my other stems. And I am doing all my stamping right away, and then I'll head over and grab the Big Shot and we'll bring it over. And I'll show you a little trick to running these framelits through the Big Shot. They can be a little fussy as well. This stamp set, though, as much as there's all these little fussy bits to it, it is such a beautiful image that for me, you know, once you know the tricks, it's actually not that bad anyways. But for me, it is completely worth it, all this, all the little fussiness that you have to do to stamp this one. So here we go. And I just love the lilies in all the different colors. And a little bit of old olive along the edge. All right, so I've got all of that stamping done. I'm going to do one last bit of stamping with my Pear Pizzazz, and that is going to be on the paper where I'm actually going to be sticking my flowers. And so I've got this, it's kind of a weird one. It's just like a little blobby thing. And you can sponge this one to ink it up, or actually, you know what? We're just going to do this quick because for this particular technique, I'm doing a stamping off anyways before I stamp on my paper. And I'm just going to stamp on here to create kind of like a little bit of a blurred edge that's going to be around my flowers when I put them on my paper here. All right, and maybe one more right in the center. There we go. So it's just got kind of a gentle, I don't know, like a little shadow or mist around the flowers. A few more. Why not? There we go. All right, so that's going to be just in the background. Now we are done with that, and I will grab the big shot and bring it over here, and we will start cutting out some of these images. Oops, let's not put this down on top of them. Here we go. All right. And grab my plates. So I'm using the magnetic plate for this. It just helps kind of position, oh, darn it, I forgot to do one more piece of stamping. Okay, we're going to be brave and we're going to stamp right on here. I'm going to grab my old olive. I forgot that I want to have the dear friend image, and the beautiful label for that is actually one of the dies in this set. So some old olive to stamp the words dear friend. There we go. And now we'll grab these dies, and I can actually do a bunch at once here. So I'm going to grab the smallest label and position that around my word dear friend. And so the magnet helps hold this in place. I do find sometimes the magnets have a little bit of a mind of their own and they want to be positioned a certain way. So I just have to move my paper to make it work. All right, then we'll grab our flower, line that one up. All right, where did I, there they are. Grab my other flower. And here we go. So while I'm doing this, a little bit of a dry spot in the video, I'll just remind everybody that Sale-a-bration is in its final month. So if you have been looking at getting some items from the Sale-a-bration catalog, now is the time to do it. They are available till March 31st or until they run out. And so you don't want to miss out on any of these fabulous items. There we go. So I've got those cut out, and now I'll run my stems through. Pop those out. Oops. Put them to the side. Pop that one out. I love how easily they just pop right out. And now I did these ones a little bit close together, so I'm actually just going to cut them apart so that I can put them all on at once. And these are the ones that kind of have a trick to them. If you try and run them through sideways, it's going to be like going over a speed bump, and they are not going to be happy. So you want to put them through long ways so that you kind of have a point hitting first. So we'll grab this and line that one up. So that is an example of the magnet having a mind of its own. So I'm just going to move my paper to adjust to it. There. All right. That one's done. And I'm actually going to turn this one around so it's kind of a pointier end to go through. Oh, a mind of its own again. There we go. All right, so with those all positioned, I'm going to grab my top plate and run those through. All right, now I can move my big shot out of the way. And with all of our pieces created now, we can get putting this card together, because the rest of this card is just positioning all of these things. So pop those out. Excellent. Okay. So for my background, I have a piece of Highland Heather. Oh, and I did forget, we do need our big shot one more time. I didn't want to leave this just as a plain piece of Highland Heather. I wanted to use our amazing Subtles texture plate. And so it kind of creates that look that we used to get with the old textured cardstock that was available. So now you can create this on your cards for yourself. So I've got a piece of Highland Heather, cut it 5.5 by 4 1/4. I've just folded it in half. And now I am going to put it into my embossing folder so that just the front of my card is going to be embossed. If you want the whole thing to be textured, you can do that as well. But I kind of like having the inside not textured. Makes it a little bit easier to write on. So here we go. And with this one, because it is one of the impressions folders, you actually only need one plate to go with this one. It's a much thicker folder. And I'm not sure if you can see that texture on there. There we go. So it's got a really gorgeous texture to it. This is the Subtles embossing folder. It's very subtle, but it makes such an impact on the front of a card. So with that embossed, I'm going to grab a piece of my wood textured DSP, and this is just using up a scrap that I had left over from when, if I cut a card front, these pieces come as a 6 by 6, and so when I cut a card front down to only 4 1/4, I have this little strip left, and so I'm just going to be using up some scraps today, which is great. And then I've got, oh my, I cut those at the wrong size. I'm just going to go trim up this white paper so it fits on top of my gray granite. All right, there we go. So I just cut this 1/8 of an inch smaller than my gray granite. My gray granite was cut at 4.5 by 2.5. And I'm going to glue these together. I know, Val, that Subtles embossing folder is amazing. So I love my liquid glue. So I'm going to use that to glue this piece on. But then I am going to use snail for the next little bit that I'm going to glue, because I just want a little bit of snail across here so that oops, is that the right side? Oh, there we go. All right, I don't use my snail very often, and oh, there we go. All right. So I just want enough to kind of hold this in place, because I'm going to tie a ribbon around it, around these two pieces together. So I just wanted something to kind of position it. There we go. So I've got those two attached, and now I'm going to wrap a ribbon. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do my gluing first for my flowers. That'll probably make this a little bit easier. So again, I'm going to use some snail for this. Actually, no, I'm going to use my liquid glue. And I'm going to position my flowers on here. Oh, if I can find them. There they are. Oops, pieces everywhere. All right, I'm going to position my flowers on here so that I actually can see them coming off of this piece of paper a little bit. All right, beautiful. And then I'm going to put just a tiny bit of liquid glue using the small adapter end, just a few little droplets of glue on there. And move that one out of the way. There we go. So as you can see, I've got it kind of dipping off the bottom. And then I'm going to do this one as well with just a little bit of glue. That might have been a bit too much, so that's okay. All right. So again, moving that flower out of the way now and putting that down. Now for the rest of the pieces, I'm actually going to use mini glue dots so that we get a little bit of dimension to this. So for my leaf, I'm going to come in here and put a mini, or not a mini glue dot, a mini dimensional. The mini dimensionals on there, just so that this leaf is kind of popping out a little bit. And I'm actually going to layer it right over. Make sure that that's, yeah, that'll still be on the card. Good. And onto the backs of my flowers as well. Now, I don't like how this has a little bit of white in it. That would be showing if I put the stems on top of the flowers like it is intended. So because I'm using these ones, I'm actually going to layer this over top of it. So it won't have quite as natural of a look to it, but that's okay. I prefer how it looks when it's covering those up. There we go. If you really wanted to, you could get in there and fussy cut it out, I suppose. But I have no interest in doing that. So there we go. We've got our flowers attached. Now I get to have some fun with the ribbon, and I have such a great surprise for you guys. If you haven't heard yet, the ribbon is back. The Sale-a-bration ribbon that has been out of stock for so long is finally back and available. It's only available in North America. It's only available while supplies last. It's not currently on the low inventory list, but I can't imagine it's going to last very long. This was such a popular item. So you get the 5 rolls of ribbon. I'm going to use the Highland Heather ribbon for this card. I cannot tell you how much I love this ribbon. I had already gone through 3 packages of it before it went on low inventory, well, until it went out of order. And, oh, there we go. And I will definitely be getting some more this time around before it goes away. It is such an easy ribbon to work with, and it creates just such a lovely, soft image on a card front. So I've got this. I'm going to tie a knot just kind of off to the side. Careful not to bend up my my wood grain DSP too much. There we go. And then I'm going to tie a bow on here. So the way I tend to do those is to create my double bunny ears. Having the knot tied the correct way as well, so you get your ribbon already heading in the proper direction helps. And then grab those. There we are. And now we just get to fiddle with it a bit until it lays the way we want it to. All right, no, I'm not happy with that at all, so I'm going to start over. Sometimes I find that it helps to tie the bow upside down, and then it hangs a little bit nicer. So we'll give that one a try. And the great thing about this ribbon is it's such a sturdy ribbon as well. It doesn't tend to fray, so you really can just get in here and keep playing with it and keep retying it and trying new things until you get it the way you want it to look. All right. No, that's still not working for me. All right. Sometimes if you turn the ribbons the other way, then there we go. Third time's a charm, right? I think this will always be the part I struggle with. And I've had some listeners leave me some great tips on tying bows that really have helped, but it's always just going to be a little bit of a fiddly thing for me. All right, just about. Excellent. Okay, much happier with that bow. There we go. All right, and then get those little bows the right size. And now I'm going to trim up the ends so that they don't hang off of my card. There we go. All right, so super excited that this ribbon is back and in stock and available for everyone. Now I'm going to use 2 mini dimensionals to attach our sentiment. Now, I mentioned at the beginning, the reason I just did Dear Friend on here is because I do want a card that's going to be really versatile. Now on the inside, I can stamp any sentiment I want. Oh, I know, Valerie, I don't have a bow maker. I should really grab one, but all right, there we go. So with our sentiment attached, 2 more things to do on this card. I need to find my dimensionals again. And we're going to pop up this whole piece, and I'm really going to go crazy with my dimensionals. I don't want any saggy parts on my card. So here we go, one in the middle, down in the bottom corner, where these connect, and there. So yeah, lots and lots of dimensionals to hold up this, but I just do find that the DSP is a little bit thinner, so it does need a lot more support so that it doesn't get wrinkled or saggy. All right. So we'll take that, center that on our card. And now for the final touch, I get to break out my tool that I've been waiting for. My order arrived with my Pick a Tool. This thing is a lifesaver. There's no more fiddling around with pearls and other embellishments and not being able to get them where I want them and not being able to pick them up. And for those of you who have the beautiful manicured nails, this is a lifesaver as well. It's like a little mini spatula. I'm just gonna hold that in place. Oh, flying pearls. There we go. Wow, it worked much smoother when I was using it earlier. So you've got your little spatula, and I'm literally going to slide it off my spatula and push it down where I want it. So you hold it in place, get your spatula underneath. There we go, that one worked properly. All right, oops. And let's see, maybe one right down there. All right, so that is the little mini spatula. The other end of this is really awesome too. Oops, I've got, yeah, pointy scissors will work as well. So the other end of this is great. Oh, if I can get the lid off. I'm still learning how to use, there we go. So you can actually see there's a bunch of putty kind of sticking out the end. That's way too much for what I need. So I'm going to trim that off. So this end is filled with putty, and you can get refills for it, and you can literally just use it to pick items up. So if I was using something that didn't have a sticky back, so for example, let me just grab some sequins here, and the sequins are so difficult to pick up, I can literally just come in with my putty end, and voila, I've picked it up, and now I can place it where I want it and glue it down. So that putty end is really, really useful as well. That's going to make working with my sequins a whole lot easier because I always have trouble picking them up. So yeah, love that pick a tool. There is our card, completely finished now and ready to be sent off to somebody. So thank you so much for watching. And as I mentioned a couple weeks ago now, I did have 2 extra packages of the butterfly elements. I believe Eileen won last week, and I've sent those off in the mail to her. And so this week I have another package of the totally sold out, completely unavailable butterfly elements. And so if you want to like, share, and then please do comment that you've done that on my video post. For whatever reason, if I'm not Facebook friends with you, I cannot see that you've shared. I can see that somebody has shared, but I cannot see your name. So if you are sharing my video, please make sure that you're either Facebook friends with me or that you put in the comments that it was you, in fact, who did the sharing. And I'll be entering everybody who does that into a little draw to win these butterfly elements. I'm going to keep the draw open until, let's see, until maybe 9 o'clock tomorrow night, and then I will do the draw. Thank you for sharing, Valerie. So good luck to everyone, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye-bye.